And welcome back to Lincoln, Nebraska, Sun Valley Lanes, the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation Boys Class A State Championship Battle. And this will feature the Kearney High School Bearcats and the Columbus Discoverers. For more, let's go to our public address announcer, Craig Carver.
Welcome to the 2008 Nebraska High School Bowling Federation Boys Class A State Championship, featuring the Columbus Discoverers and the Kearney Bearcats. Let's meet the Discoverers. Justin Eckholt, Jordan Eckholt, Seth Daniels, Brandon Esch, Andrew McCarthy, Adam Thurley, assistant coach Chris Scheel and head coach John Eckholt. And now for the Bearcats from Kearney, Zach Margheim, Dylan Kruger, Jared Samuelson, Ryan Hatcher, Devin Smith, Brock Spengler, assistant coach Robbie Samuelson and head coach Wanda Westphalen. Gentlemen, momentarily your lanes will be turned on for 10 minutes of practice. Good luck and good bowling.
So that's the introductions for the Class A Boys State Championship battle between Kearney and Columbus. When we come back, the action begins. Stay with us on NET.
Brought to you in part by the Ellen and Marcia Bear Foundation and by the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation, encouraging high schools to sanction the sport of bowling across Nebraska.
Programming provided by Nebraska Public Power District.
My job with Nebraska Public Power District takes me to new heights, offers me challenging experiences. Like me, the utility cares about Nebraska. I go home at night knowing that what I do makes a difference. To put it simply, I am where I want to be.
Nebraska Public Power District, always there when you need us. Together with your local public power utility.
Rising from acres of Midwestern farm fields, a revolution is coming. A new era of energy independence from foreign oil. It's called soy biodiesel. Made with soybean oil, this fuel is a sustainable, renewable resource. America, it's time for an oil change. Soy biodiesel, grown in the Midwest.
This is NET1.
The Nebraska High School Bowling Federation Boys State Championships continue at Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska. This is the Class A State Championship between the Kearney High Bearcats and the Columbus Discoverers. I'm Larry Putney along with Steve Simpek. Great to have you with us from here in Lincoln, Nebraska, as we will crown another state champion today on the boys' side of things in Class A, Kearney and Columbus. Columbus, the defending state champion, and Steve, we talked about this before the broadcast began, possibly one of the best spare shooting teams we've seen in the years we've been doing this.
Last year, Larry, they were virtually perfect except for a couple of splits, no errors, and just good textbook fundamentals. We've mentioned that in earlier matches, and they last year just didn't make any errors. And when you eliminate turnovers in football, you usually win lots of games. In bowling, it's the same thing. You eliminate your errors, you're going to come out ahead.
Ryan Hatcher gets things going for Kearney High. Nice reaction on the back end, flips and carries the 7.
Kearney's first year with a high school bowling program in the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation, and got a great contingent that came in from Kearney. Here comes the first of the Eckholt twins, Justin Eckholt.
Justin straight up the boards, and a great shot by Justin as well.
Head coach John Eckholt, the father of Justin and twin brother Jordan, proprietor of Westbrook Lanes in Columbus.
Here's a little light.
Brock Spangler, 191 average for Kearney. Playing a little further in the middle of the lane. Excuse us, that was Ryan Hatcher. I mean, a late lineup change on the boys for Kearney. We'll get those fresh lineups to you here shortly. Brock now on the spare. Kind of on the left-hand side of that lane, Larry, there's a little bit of friction outside, and in the middle is where the main amount of oil is, conditioner, which makes the ball go straighter down the lane. So we'll see if Columbus can stay true on their spare shooting. And 2 frames down, they're still clean, Larry.
As we said, the Discoverers winning the state championship last year, sweeping Lincoln High in 3 straight games. In fact, those last 2 games, the Discoverers really ran away with it, 188 to 178. The second game, 225 to 136, and they won the third one, 177 to 161. And as we said, they can convert spares. Here's the other Eckholt twin, Jordan. They missed only 3 spares last year. They had 5 splits, converted 2 of those for 3 opens, but they did not have an error classified as a non-split open.
It's like missing a single pin or missing a single pin or a easy spare combination. You don't count splits as errors. It's an open, but not an error. John Eckholt's been the longtime coach of this team. He's worked hard in Columbus to have a great bowling program.
And a nice cover by Jordan Eckholt. We had some lineup malfunctions or mislabeling here on the Kearney High side, so I think we have it right now. So now up to bowl is Jared Samuelson, the senior. Averages 180, a high game of 267, and he'll turn it up a little bit from the inside. And gets a nice back end reaction.
Baker Bowling, you use the lettering system. We haven't talked about that too much, Larry.
Right.
A, B, C, D, E, and F. That just delineates to us that what order they're going to follow. You have to stay the same letter once you start, but you can change the lineup at the beginning of a game and change the order of things. And also substitute. You're allowed to substitute 2 times a game. So, for instance, here on lane 28, you have Brandon Esch rolling at the spare. If Coach Eckholt would like to put in a sub, he could put in a sub to shoot the spare and then put Brandon back in the next time he's up. Baker Bowling, you bowl 10 frames as an entire team. Bowler number 1, which would be your A bowler, would bowl frames 1 and 6. Bowler 2, Bowler B, 2 and 7, 3 and 8, and so forth. So as your anchor bowler, and you're going to see one coming up here for Columbus by the name of Andrew McCarthy, who's going to be their money man. He's going to bowl frames 5 and 10 for Columbus. And watch the fireworks this kid emits when he throws the ball.
And this is Brock Spangler, now up to bowl, the sophomore.
Moms and dads, don't send any letters to me and Larry. It wasn't our fault, right?
That's right.
We'll get him right here. Great shot.
And a good shot by Spangler, and that's 3 in a row for the Kearney Bearcats. So now up on the right lane here is the young man you were talking about, Andrew McCarthy.
High series of 783 with 3 300 games to his credit. A lot of revolutions. Pins had no chance on that one, Larry. He sent 3/4 of the rack into the 7-pin. There was no chance of leaving anything there.
So now the 2 sides will switch lanes for the second 5 frames of the game. So the first 5 frames are bowled on 1 lane. And then to make it even, both teams have to bowl on each lane. So the 5 competing members of each team switch lanes, and so now they will bowl in the opposite lane for frames 6 through 10.
Kearney with the lead, though. Has one open frame, but 4 strikes out of 5. Oh, and there's first chink in the armor for Columbus as Justin leaves the 2-8-10. We talked earlier, Larry, there's a lot of conditioner on the lane in the center part of the lane, from basically board 10 on the right, which would be the second arrow, into the middle part of the lane. A lot of oil or conditioner has a tendency to make the ball slide. Justin Eckholt there just didn't get the ball out of that heavy conditioned part of the lane. The ball slid a little too long, as it does there, and leaving that 2-8-10 split. So Kearney with another strike will give him a 4-bagger, and they're going to have a commanding lead.
And so now up on the right lane is Zach Margheim, senior. Margheim with a high game of 265, looking for some reaction on the back end, and it's just enough. It leaves a 2-pin as he comes in just a bit light.
Zach's going to go a little bit left of center at the 2-pin spare.
Here's Seth Daniels, and Seth with a nice ball there.
Oh man, Seth just playing that left side of the lane very, very well, playing outside the second arrow in the hooking part of the lane. Lots of revolutions, just dead flush in the pocket.
Zach Margheim. Ooh, just slides by to the left side. That opens the door just a bit for the Discoverers.
They don't miss too many spares.
Columbus still finds itself down, though, by 21. And that a little strong.
Ryan Hatcher there playing closer to the third arrow. That's right in the heaviest part of the oil. That's why that ball didn't come back. Leaves the 2-4-5. Lots of different ways to chop that spare. He's going to want to go straight at it as possible. Jordan Eckholt now up quickly for Columbus.
That flirts with the channel.
It was a little too far outside there. So I think nerves here playing a little part.
Right at him. Nice spare conversion by Kearney's Ryan Hatcher. And now Jordan Eckholt will try to convert that spare. And that gives a commanding lead now to Kearney here in game number 1 of this Class A state championship match between the Bearcats and the Discoverers.
Strike here, Larry. I'll put him up close to 40 pins going into the 9th frame.
Dylan Kruger, and Kruger with a nice shot.
Time for Columbus just to regroup here a little bit.
Here's Brandon Esch. Esch bowling for Columbus, but attends Columbus Scotus Central Catholic, the only SCOTUS team member on this squad. And again, allowed to have 2 schools as long as one is not able to field an entire team. And it's in accordance with the NSAA guidelines. It's about location and geography as to which school you can co-op with.
High School Bowling Federation follows the guidebook and handbook of the Nebraska School Activities Association. You'll see co-op teams in various sports. You may see certain teams and schools co-opt in some sports, but not in other sports. And that's perfectly allowable as long as all the students are in the same building at each of the co-op schools, and freshman through senior. But as the sport continues to grow, Larry, you're going to see more teams pop up, and a lot of these schools that were co-opt at one time are probably well on the way to forming their own individual teams. I think you're seeing the conditioner on the lanes really start to carry down now towards the pins. We'll talk about that real quick. As traffic increases on the bowling lane, the bowling balls actually pick up the oil and conditioner on the lane. That's going to wrap things up, it looks like, there for Kearney. Kearney's going to go in winner of game number 1 here, best of 5 in Baker. Back to the conditioner situation, the oil on the bowling balls remain on the ball, and in the old days, when I say old days, Larry, and I'm little bit older than you, maybe by 6 or 8 months. But the old days, the oil more or less wore off the lane. The bowling balls actually wore it off the lane. In this day and age of synthetic lanes and reactive resin bowling balls, the oil actually is carried down, pushed down the lane towards the pins. The area in front of the pins is typically cleaner or drier, and that's what provides that snap hook that you see on a lot of these bowling balls. But as the oil pushes down, the hook decreases a little bit, and so you'll begin to see players make a little bit of a move to get that hook back. And sometimes it's just a matter of 5 Baker games. You don't have time to figure out that adjustment.
So the final shot of game 1 is a spare conversion by Brock Spangler, and that makes it 179-157 Kearney. So the Bearcats take game number 1 in this best-of-5 state championship battle. And you talked about the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation following many of the guidelines of the NSAA, and I know that is kind of the direction that the Federation is heading, is trying to get this sport sanctioned within Nebraska high schools and within the Nebraska School Activities Association. So many athletic associations around the country and states do have sanctioned bowling within their states. I think up to 20 different states now, either boys or girls or both programs, are actual varsity letter and sponsored sports within their high schools, and that's the direction it's heading in Nebraska.
Well, that's the goal, and what we're seeing now is we're seeing so many schools and teams pop up in different cities that basically the onus is on the student athletes and the parents to convey the message to the athletic directors or school administrators of their high school to show how sensible it is to include bowling as another sport. Quite frankly, bowling is probably one of the lowest maintenance, easiest to operate, and most affordable sports out of the menu that you're going to see at a typical high school. There's no field maintenance. The bowling centers typically take care of all of the administration and handling of all the issues at the venue of the site. As for transportation and costs, you're looking at anywhere from maybe 7 to 10 or 15 players on a team versus a football team or a larger sport where you have a lot more numbers, where you have a lot of transportation costs and equipment costs. Equipment, nothing more than really some basic uniforms. Most of the students do have their own bowling equipment. So but it's another piece of workload for the athletic directors and for the administrators, and we just are hoping that they get comfortable with the fact that this is something that they need to look at. And also, Larry, 80% of the kids that participate, and this has been proven now through several years, approximately 80% of the kids that participate on high school bowling teams do not participate in any other sport or activity at the high school. So you're not stealing athletes from one sport to go play for another sport. And principals and athletic directors like that because it keeps kids more involved.
It really provides opportunities for some of the kids who may not have opportunities in other sports, which is important to athletic directors and administrators, and we've seen that throughout the last couple of days at the state high school championships, with many administrators and athletic directors showing up at this venue, and heard from one, I think as I mentioned before, that was surprised at the organization, the level of excitement, the level of professionalism within this sport and within this state high school championship and the way that it was run, and is excited to support high school bowling becoming a NSAA sanction. But to your point, it really is the onus is upon the athletic directors to bring it up in front of their districts and for the athletic directors to carry the banner in front of the NSAA. And that's only going to happen with athletic directors and administrators hear from the parents of those involved.
That's correct. And a lot of concern is always based on how much money does it cost to run a program. Bowling is a much more affordable sport to run than some other ones just because of the numbers factor. The other thing, Larry, is most bowling centers are associated with alcohol and smoking. Not only do I think that we're probably a year, if not less, away from a statewide smoking ban in the state of Nebraska, the bowling centers that participate in this program, the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation, already adhere to the rules that there is no smoking, no alcohol sales during any of these events. It's not any different than going to a golf course for a high school golf match. We as proprietors make sure that that the NSA rules are followed. So it's just it's growing so fast in Nebraska. It's just a matter of time, and we certainly encourage anybody out there that has any any student athletes on a high school bowling team that would either, if they do not have a club team or like to participate, talk to the athletic director or their school principal, administrator to see about forming a team. Well, I tell you what, the pace has slowed, and no longer is the sharp as an arrow spare shooting happening. As you see there with Kearney's Jared Samuelson, everybody's struggling with the lane conditions out there, and it's just need to take a breath and step back and just make sure that they hit their mark and try and find an angle in the pocket.
And for Columbus, this is Brandon Esch who covers up the spare after back-to-back opens. Or excuse me, Columbus, just one open here through 4 frames. It's Kearney who had back-to-back opens, and now that spare stops that string as well. Kearney was seeded 5th coming into these bracket-style Baker finals. Wow, a nice carry there.
A lot of forward roll. He does not have the 3/4 revolutions and the amount of revolutions as some of the kids we've seen earlier today, but his roll is very high. His track is very high on the ball, and that just stores all that energy for when the ball hits the pins, and as you can see, the pins are flying every direction.
So now once again they'll flip lanes for the last 5 frames here of game number 2. Game 1 went the way of the Kearney Bearcats, 179-157. And right now in the 5th frame, Columbus has the lead here in the 2nd game. And that shot going a little light one more time, and Zach Margheim will have some work to do.
Kearney Bearcats bowl out of the Big Apple Family Fun Center in Kearney. Ken Owens out there, general manager, does a great job. It's a great place, lots to do for families. Beautiful facility in Kearney, right off the interstate. And you know, Larry, you start looking back on missed opportunities. Situations like that where you have the opportunity to get 2 pins on count versus 1, you know, that costs you double. If you leave 1 pin standing, it costs you 2 in count if you're on a strike or a spare. So, you know, you get to the point where you need a pin or 2 to avoid a tie or possibly win at the end of the game. You need to be able to pick those up. Even though you can't convert a tough split like that, you want to get as many pins as possible.
Here's Devin Smith, sophomore, left-hander, goes Brooklyn and gets the strike. Maybe looking for a little better shot on the left-hand side as Devin gets his first action.
Cross lane at the 4 pin. Good job by Mr. Ickel.
Last year, Columbus, as we said, won the state championship. Graduated just 1 player from that squad. That was Derek Brandt. And now this year, 3 seniors and 2 juniors on this squad, along with the sophomore Adam Thurley. And here's one of those juniors, Jordan Eckel. They are still struggling with the oil carrying down.
Well, they're throwing the high-powered bowling balls where the oil really carries down the lane. Now, it'll get to a point to where the lane has accepted, I guess, for lack of a better term, accepted all the oil that it can carry down the pins, and the ball will begin to settle down and become more of a consistent hook. But until that happens, it's going to take a little bit of time for the kids to line up, as we call it in bowling. Columbus still with the lead, though, as we go into the 8th frame.
So Dylan Kruger now up in the left-hand lane, the senior. The high game of 265 and a series of 665. He's up in the 8th frame on the left lane, looking for the double, and they got it. So just what Kearney needed as they trailed here through 6 frames. They were down by 25, and that's a big double for the Bearcats. Let's see if Columbus can answer. Here's the lefty, Seth Daniels, whose favorite bowler is Mike Scroggins.
Left-hander on the PBA Tour, and now we see the opposite. 3.79, the opposite of the righties, 2.810. Ball goes too far down the lane, and that conditioner, as we talk about, that's carrying down closer to the pins, delays that hook. So It's a very close match. Coach Eckholt needs to tell Seth to get the 2 pins on the spare. Don't try and worry about picking it up. And now a 3-bagger for Kearney, and they take the lead.
Boy, what a big shot for the Bearcats. Jared Samuelson.
Oh, wow.
Good
Just
run.
about sent him out of the pit there.
Very nice run at it. That'll give them 132 in the 8th. Kearney with 111 in the 7th, but working on a 3-bagger.
Strike here in the 9th frame, or the 10th frame for Kearney. We'll let Columbus's letter D bowler, Brandon Esch go first in the 9th. Same result, Larry. Now, let's talk a little bit about yesterday. The qualifying for Class A was held at Hollywood Bowl across town, and lane conditions at Hollywood Bowl just a little drier, less conditioner, more hook. And at the point of the Baker semis, when the Baker bowling and the bracket bowling started going, after 4 games of bowling on there, the lanes were obviously a lot drier, and so it's going to hopefully settle in eventually. These boys are going to have to gear down a couple of gears to get the ball into that roll. A strike here by Kearney is going to give them just about a 50-pin lead going into the 10th frame, and that's going to be probably enough to wrap it up. And a good shot there by Brock Spangler, but just couldn't carry the 10.
So the best Columbus can shoot, 182, and that's if Andrew McCarthy can strike out. Good reaction there, and he gets the first one.
That's their money bowler.
And right now, if Kearney were to pick this up and strike, they will only shoot 180. So
it's not over yet.
An important spare here.
Switches bowling balls to a ball that hooks less, and that's the caveat, and into the channel it goes for 168. So for Columbus to come back and win game number 2, they need their money bowler, Andrew McCarthy, to strike on this ball. Actually, that's not correct. He needs a mark is all he needs.
Yep. 7 pins.
That's enough. That's enough. Columbus comes back to win game 2.
So a good rebound by the Discoverers after dropping that first game 179-157. Andrew McCarthy stepped up through the double in the 10th and gives his team the win here in game number 2. This is Adam Thurley, the sophomore, who will now step in and bowl the rest of the 10th frame for the Discoverers. So 181-168 is the final of game number 2. Columbus winning it and evening this match at 1 game apiece. There you see the final score of game number 2, and it's 1-1 between Kearney and Columbus in the boys' Class A state championship. Boy, the job this week that John Lucido and his staff have done here at Sun Valley Lanes and also over at Hollywood Bowl. I know you spent some time over at Hollywood for the qualifying for this championship. Both places have done just a remarkable job in hosting these events.
The city of Lincoln is blessed with some great ownership of the bowling centers in town. John Lucido and the rest of his owners and staff here at Sun Valley, Bob Davis, Earl Cupp, Bill Hoppy at Parkway Lanes and Hollywood Bowl, and of course the Madsen family at Madsen's. A long-standing tradition of long-standing ownership of the bowling centers here in town, and they care about their customers. They do a great job. Good shot there by Kearney out of the gate.
Well, we should mention the commitment of proprietors all across Nebraska who really commit to high school bowling and allowing the high school bowlers to come into their lanes and not only compete but also to practice, and that's a big, it's a big time donation and a donation of part of their product and what they give to the high school bowlers.
Well, the goal to make this an NSAA sport is to high school bowling through the High School Bowling Federation is really trying to emulate the other sports. We do not charge the bowlers to bowl a participation fee. It's just like going out for football or basketball, Larry. You may have to invest in a pair of cleats for football or a pair of basketball shoes for basketball, and bowling would be the same thing. You may have to splurge for a bowling ball, but the proprietors are the ones that are fitting the bill. The proprietors, and I should say that a lot of the teams across the state now and a lot of the loyal parents have formed booster clubs. And you see that with a lot of other sports and a lot of other high schools where booster clubs have been formed to help raise money to offset costs. And the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation is all about making sure that this sport is palatable and accepted by the high schools. And if that means that there's a possibility of helping out financially, administrative-wise, the Federation is all about doing that. All right, Columbus is getting warmed up.
So both teams with a mark and a strike here in game number 3. We're all even at 1 game apiece. And bowling in the 3rd. Up on the left lane.
Shot.
Dylan Kruger with a strike, and that's a double for Kearney.
I think everybody's engines are beginning to hit now. They've figured out where to stand and figured out the lane conditions scenario. Jordan Eckholt now. A little further outside in the hook area of the lane, and that's where you need to be. You need to be around that second arrow or a little further right of that, depending upon your ball speed.
Both of these squads starting to warm up a bit. 20-20 in the first frame. We're both working on doubles. Left the Greek Church.
Greek Church and bowling. It's the 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. Actually, this split is in the group of splits that can be converted. But on a double, you want to shoot for the 3 pins. You want to end up with filling 8 for the frame. And we don't lose as much count as you have to the other team. And a great shot there by Brandon Esch. Can hit the area of the 6 pin into the 9 and slide it over into the 4 and the 7, but he does the wise thing and takes the count, Larry.
Well, and especially on the strike, it's important to make sure you're getting count there because 3 was really worth 6 on the strike.
Exactly. Cross lane at the 10 pin. Good job.
Had a good cover there, and that'll give the Discoverers the lead here in game number 3.
Head coach for Kearney, Wanda Westphalen. Bronze level United States Bowling Congress coach for the last 12 years out of Kearney. She's been a big part of youth bowling at Kearney. Done a great job. Assistant coach Robbie Samuelson. We're getting more and more schools out west now too, Larry. Scottsbluff Gearing having girls teams now qualifying for the state championships. Teams out of Alliance. North Platte. Coming up soon, we're going to be seeing the Burwell Ord Arcadia team out of Burwell in the Sandhills, 6-lane bowling center in Burwell, Nebraska.
In both boys and girls, in fact.
Bet.
Girls last week competing.
Plainview, Nebraska, small center, 6-lane center. The Courts, great owners up there, up in north central Nebraska. Adam Thurley here has a chance to really put some heat on Kearney if he can strike here for a double. Oh.
And he gets it to fall. And a nice shot by the sophomore Adam Thurley. Got the 7 pin to come forward.
Adam was inserted in the 10th frame, and Coach Eckholt leaves him in for game 2, and he comes up with money there.
Much more inside line goes Brooklyn and works for the Kearney Bearcats, and they need that. They need to keep going because right now in the 5th frame they find themselves down by about 40 pins. 39 in the 5th. Justin Eckholt leaves the bucket on the left side.
Well, unfortunately with Baker bowling, they actually go so fast it's tough to squeeze in replays, but what you saw there with Justin was he just hung onto the ball just a split second longer than he liked. The ball, instead of going into the lane, went up out of his hand. That delay, Larry, just was enough to get the ball to skid a little further down the lane. Ball doesn't make the pocket, leaves the 2, 4, 5, and 8. The dinner bucket, we call it in bowling. Needs to hit the 2-pin and the 5-pin straight on. The ball will take out the back row, and that's what happens. It's a number of different ways to miss that spare. So Columbus, as they try to pull away a little bit, open frame moves them back into range for Kearney to catch up, and that spare was big.
And a nice cover by the lefty. So there you see the score. In the 7th, that's actually 100 plus a mark and count.
Within 20 now. Big shot here for Columbus, and once again, just still probably has a little bit of that conditioner migrating down the lane, delaying that hook. Sometimes you can, instead of making a lateral move on the lane, moving your feet one way or the other to better your angle of entry of the pocket, sometimes you can do it by either ball speed or by hand position a little bit. And
here it comes. Messenger going to get there. It does. You weren't able to see it there, but the head pin came off the wall, rolled across the deck, and knocked out the 10-pin.
Puts Kearney right back into the thick of things. Big spare here for Columbus.
And a good cover.
All right, now back within about 10 pins. Kearney here with a double. Puts him in position to take the lead. Carries the Brooklyn and does. Brooklyn strike is when the righties cross over on the 1-2 side.
We are right back to a tight game. Assuming, depending on what happens the first ball in the 10th frame, Kearney could take the lead.
Brandon Esch.
Boy, big strike there.
Struck us last time up. Just did a phenomenal job. Actually, he did. He hit the pocket and left a stone 10-pin, but he's in and around the pocket, and that's big. Possible 210 for Kearney if they strike out in the 10th frame.
Needs to finish.
Oh, a
boy,
tough break.
Too. Maybe an equipment change there for.
Ball really hooked at the right here. You bet. Hooked the last 5 feet of the lane, Larry, and you don't want to put it in Andrew McCarthy's hands because he usually comes up with a big shot. And wow, he just about pays a unearned penalty there, leaves the 9.
Well, it looks like the Discoverers on pace to shoot 2-0. And even with a spare here, Kearney couldn't shoot 180. So the third game will also go to Columbus as well. So Columbus, after losing the first game to Kearney 179-157, has come back to take the next 2 games. 171 is the score for Kearney, and Columbus is going to shoot 2-0. Depending on the shot here.
Starting to ratchet themselves up now, getting a little more comfortable with the lane conditioning pattern. It's a good look at Andrew McCarthy. Look how he just hits up on that ball. Just sheer power. 2-0-2 for Columbus. They're up 2-1 now.
And just 1 error for Columbus in that game as well. So we talked about what a terrific spare shooting team this is, and the only error came on that bucket, missed by Eckel. And so they're starting to warm up in terms of making sure they convert on their spares as well. Well, an important game obviously here for Kearney because Columbus 1 win away from winning back-to-back state championships.
Trying to catch the McCool Junction ladies.
Right.
With the
last week, the Mustangs of McCool Junction winning their 4th consecutive state championship in Class D.
You ever been to McCool Junction? You ever been there?
It's out by York, correct?
Yes, it is. Yep. It is a very cute, clean, nice town. Great food at a couple of the local watering holes there. We get off the beaten path occasionally on our travels across the state. Another good shot by, Adam Thurley was inserted at the 10th frame of game 1, and he's been in the pocket every shot. Just didn't carry that 10-pin there. And pretty low maintenance game. Not a lot of hook. Keeps the ball in play. Good spare shooter.
And a nice ball there. Good finish and good strike by Ryan Hatcher, the junior from Kearney. Now back to Adam Thurley, the sophomore, trying to convert.
Straightens the ball out.
Cross lane and covers it up.
Notice how he changed his hand position, kind of lowered his wrist, kind of broke the wrist backwards. When I say break the wrist, I mean break it, but I mean you actually bend your wrist backwards, takes your fingers out of the ball, straightens it out, less revolutions, easier to manage. Big double here opportunity for Kearney. Great shot.
And a nice shot by Margheim. Zach Margheim comes through with a double. So Kearney with the early lead here in game number 4. The advantage to Columbus, 2-1. Boy, great shot there by Eckel. Justin Eckel with the strike. They've mixed up their lineup a bit too.
Change the order at the start of the game. It's a strategic move. Get your hot player in position to where he can do the most good for you. Devin Smith, a sophomore, with an average of 165, 230 high game, 620 high series. Kearney, this is Jordan Eckel.
Looking for the double.
Just a tough break there. You know, that's a tap, we call it in bowling. A ball in the pocket. You would expect it to strike. Actually, that bowling ball was hooking so hard at the back end, it didn't give the 6-pin a chance to move into the 10 to carry it out. But boy, the open frame there for Kearney. Can't afford to do that with a team like Columbus.
Those are the ones that will eat at you.
There you go.
And a nice spare there by Jordan Eckel. So now for Kearney, Jared Samuelson, a senior, averaging 180. High series of 716. He's moved inside a little bit, looking for some reaction in there, and gets that 7 to fall. Difficult to see what hit it, but something reached out there and tapped it over.
They're throwing lots of strikes.
In 4 frames, Kearney with 3 strikes, but that one open has cost him the lead. Brandon Esch crosses over, leaves the 5-9. Really just your strike ball here. Needs it to react though. And it didn't.
Still, every time you go away from the pocket, when the ball is not going down the boards with the boards and going away from the pocket, enough conditioner on that lane to where the ball has a tough time recovering. This is a big chance for Kearney to really put the lead on Columbus.
Boy, what a big shot that is. Another double. Kearney goes double, open, double through the first 5, and good shot there by Dylan Kruger.
Their money bowler needs to come through, and he just lost it, just a touch at the bottom of the swing. Not as many revolutions on that ball as it was as what Andrew had in his prior frames. Right now, Columbus needs a spare just to keep it close.
And a nice cover. So Andrew McCarthy covers it up. And the Discoverers lead 2-1 over the Kearney Bearcats, and it's the Class A state championship battle between Kearney and Columbus. Take a look at the Class A individual standings. And Lincoln Southwest just dominated the standings in terms of who won with medals and who scored. Southwest finished 1, 2, 8, and 9. Southeast Bullets finished 3, 4, and 5.
Well, they lost to this Kearney team in the semifinals yesterday. Otherwise, you'd be looking at Lincoln Southwest back again. Excuse me, that was Southeast. I apologize, Larry. Southwest lost to Columbus actually yesterday.
That was a tough one. In fact, both of these teams surviving 5-game Baker finals or semifinals to get into the finals.
Still about a 15-pin lead for Kearney with this spare. Going cross lane, Ryan Hatcher. Excuse me, that is Ryan Hatcher. And
just dropped off the lane, and that'll pull it a little more even. In fact,
within 10 now.
Yep.
Based on count with this shot here.
Tugged it a little bit, went Brooklyn, got 8. So that'll make it a 7-pin Kearney advantage after that last open. Boy, you take a look at Kearney, and those opens are just, they go strike, strike, open, strike, strike, open. Maybe it's a pattern, we'll see.
Oh,
what a great shot.
Great job on the camera there from our crew at NET, seeing how that solid 8-pin was left. The ball actually drives into the pocket, and typically what happens is the ball takes out the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 9 if you're a right-handed bowler. When the ball hits the 5-pin, which is the one behind the head pin, the 5 usually takes out that 8. But that ball was so well thrown and driving so hard at the pocket, it takes the 5-pin straight back, leaving that solid 8. That's the true tap in bowling. Got to shake it off and cover your spare.
And the nice cover by Markheim. And an important spare for Kearney as well. So a 7-pin Kearney lead.
Oh, and that could have really propelled Columbus back into the lead. 4-pin there by Jordan Eckholt. This is just a slower pace than what we've had in the prior matches, Larry. Everybody's up there thinking about what their next shot, next move has to be. Feel the pressure of championship bowling just beginning to mount. A lot of bragging rights here. These two teams have bowled each other in earlier competition this year.
Yeah, the cover by Eckholt keeps Columbus hanging around. That's kind of where Columbus wants to be, is just kind of hanging around and be tight when they get to Andrew McCarthy, their anchor bowler.
That one had us all shaking our heads up here, but it hangs on to cover, and that is big. That sends Kearney with a possibility to continue with about a 10-pin lead going into the 10th frame.
Brandon Esch.
Oh,
got the trim. Boy, it looked like he had a 7-10 standing on a pocket hit, but gets that 7 out late, and now it's the 10-pin. You see the deep breath, and you can feel it get a little tighter here in the 9th frame. Good reaction here.
Oh,
that's a tough shot.
That's just in the wrong spot, too, leaving the 2-8-10. Having that open frame in front of you before you go into the 10th, that's going to make this match very close to being even. Cross lane at the 10-pin, and Columbus. Brandon could have had them in a position to be ahead going into the 10th frame. But instead, it's going to be still a slight Kearney lead. Kearney with a 5-pin advantage going into the 10th.
So 156, 151. Talked about the importance of spare shooting, and you see it there. And couldn't get that 2-pin to go.
Last two or three shots for Andrew McCarthy. He's had a tough time getting the ball up into the pocket. He's probably still needs to make a little bit of a move with his feet on the right-hand side of the lane, and Kearney's anchor bowler comes through. Dylan Kruger, senior with a 265 high game, shows why you can shoot those big scores. That was a big strike in the 10th frame.
Had a good cover there, and with a strike, Columbus could shoot 171. So all that needs to be done here by Dylan Kruger is to get 6 pins.
Stay behind the foul line, get 6 pins, and that's enough to tie this match up.
And he did it.
I do believe this is the first one we've had today, Larry, where it's been 2-2. actually go into the deciding game.
I think the Class B boys this morning. Class D, I'm sorry. Howell's over. That's right, because that was the one where Newman came out and took that 2-0 lead, and then Howell's bounced back and won it with 3 straight.
Well, this is a great format because you can have a bunch of hot bowlers, but it's a total team effort, and you need to just worry about winning a game by game. And Dylan Kruger did a great job of keeping every shot in the pocket there for his 185 to 170, all tied up.
So we now head to a 5th and deciding game, and there is the final 185 to 170. Kearney winning game number 4. So the Bearcats take games 1 and 4, Columbus games 2 and 3, and we go to the 5th and deciding game. 1 game for a state championship between Kearney and Columbus, and this is where spares become even more important. Not giving your opponent an advantage.
Well, that's why you put your power bowlers at anchor. Dylan Kruger, out of his 9 attempts, 7 out of the last 9 attempts, 7 out of 9 in strikes, Larry. So they're going to rely on Dylan to get him through this final game 5. And then this young man here who has just put the ball in the pocket, done his job, done a great job since Coach Eckholt for Columbus put him in game number 1, Adam Thurley. Unfortunately, a little bit high, leaving the 6, 7, 10. Need to get the 2 pins.
Here's Ryan Hatcher. And Ryan comes up a little light. Leaves the 1-2-8.
Just need to get after
Can
the
he get it?
two.
Oh, what a conversion!
Great job by Adam Thurley. They may look back on that as the shot that may have saved the championship.
That's the one that'll certainly fire him up. Boy, how'd you like to be Ryan Hatcher stepping up for a tough spare conversion after that?
I think he was a little shocked that he picked
He
it
did
up.
it. Well, nice answer by Ryan Hatcher, because Thurley right in front of him with a terrific split conversion. So all even games and on the scoreboard in the 5th game. Just a little light by Eckel. He leaves the 2-pin. Now up on the left lane again, Zach Markheim. Markheim straight up the boards, right through the nose. Avoids the split. So now let's see if Eckel can convert and keep the sheet clean for Columbus. And a good cover. Right at it for the conversion. So 2 frames, 2 spares for Columbus, and they have a 2-pin lead. Kearney's trying to stay clean also, and they do.
2-pin lead for Columbus just based on count. Anybody's match.
Here's Jordan Eckel.
You need to rely upon your spare shooting, and Columbus has been so good at that in the past. They need to have that be the case right now.
And a great shot by Jordan right up the boards, as you talked about. It looked like he went straight up 8, got a little back end, and carried.
Seeing them go less away from the pocket, more straight up the boards, allows that powerful bowling ball they throw to do its damage. Answer right back, Larry. Oh, Brandon Esch with a great shot in the pocket, leaves the 4. Can't let him get that down. He needs to just cover that spare, move on, let Andrew McCarthy do his thing in frame 5. This would make the lead for Kearney be about 20. Oh,
and a big shot there. Nice double by the Bearcats in game number 5 with the state title on the line.
Just great competition right now. You're watching these young men bowl their hearts out. All right, this is Dylan Kruger, the anchor bowler for Kearney. 7 out of the last 9 attempts. He's been good, Larry, for a strike. Let's see how it looks this time. Got a good break there. Got to speed up there a little bit. It was a little more firm than the last few times, and all-important break taking that 2-pin out.
McCarthy gets a mixer. Boy, a big shot, needed it there.
Brings him right back into the game. Port and spare for Kearney, and no problem. Is that a soccer ball you're holding down there, Larry?
Yeah. You'd think it would have bit a little harder than that. It just kind of skidded. Usually don't see that on those soccer balls.
I thought it was illegal to use your hands with those. All right, boys switch lanes now for the last half, the final game here.
So it's a 7-pin advantage for Kearney. Through 5, both teams with a mark in the 5th. You are right. They are being much more deliberate here in this boys Class A
They're thinking
championship.
about it.
They are. This is a big shot here by Seth Daniels, looking for the double. This could give Columbus the lead.
A lot of hand in that ball, just sawing
The
it
messenger
in.
comes across and delivers.
All those revolutions, that ball going down the lane sends the pins into the kickback and back across the deck to carry it out. Kearney needs to answer right now with a strike. And they do.
What a big shot by Ryan Hatcher. Boy, a terrific final game in this boys Class A championship. Strike here gives Columbus a 3-pin lead. Ooh, just trips the 4 out of the 4-9.
Big break. That would have gave Kearney the lead one more time.
Well, Kearney can get it back right here with a strike by Zach Margheim. Columbus up by 2 pins. This strike.
Oh, they give it right back. All right, Zach needs to gather his thoughts and get 2 here. Hang on to the count. Hope Columbus can stub their toe a little bit here. I doubt you'll see him miss any spares, so it's going to have to be a split or something like that to, they're deciding who's going to shoot the spare for Kearney.
Devin Smith will come in to shoot it. Devin, the lefty.
Needs to get 2. And gets 1.
Give it a run. So 1 was worth 2 there. 2 would have been worth 4, so 132 in the 7th to 148, depending on count, for Columbus. And, you know, you need to look back all the way to the first frame, but how big was that split conversion of Adam Thurley, the sophomore, when it's the difference in the game right now.
Yes, it is. About a 22-pin lead right now for Columbus. Strike is needed desperately by Kearney right now, and they get the Brooklyn.
Over, and they get it.
Evens it back up, Larry. Kearney's back within 10, going into the 9th frame.
So Spangler with the strike. There you see it. 14-pin difference in the 7th frame. And a good cover there by Jordan Eckholt.
A double here sets Kearney up to go into the 10th frame with the lead. And
Jared Samuelson does it. Boy, what a big shot that was going into the 10th. So 162 possibly if they throw the first one in the 10th. And a strike here would be 166. It could still be a Columbus 4-pin lead with a strike here. And they get it. So Columbus still in control of their own destiny.
Possible 222 for Kearney. Possible 226 for Columbus. So it is anybody's match going in the 10th frame. This for a three-bagger for Kearney.
Dylan Kruger got it.
Gets it.
Boy, what a big shot under pressure that was. Wow, first one in the 10th, 3 in a row for Kearney. Well, Columbus, this is exactly who they want on the lanes. Andrew McCarthy.
Better release that time.
Get up.
Oh,
didn't carry.
Wow. He knows that that was big. Now Kearney controls their own destiny now. Kearney can go off the sheet. If they can throw 2 more, they're going to be your state champions.
Might be it. He might have needed
It's a
that
strike
first one.
here.
That's it.
That's it right there.
The Kearney Bearcats come from behind and win the state championship. A big double in the 10th frame by Dylan Kruger.
Stay behind the foul line. Good clean release. That's right in the pocket again. Wow, look at that. He knew it right when he left his hand, Larry. How about that? First year for a high school program in the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation for Kearney High School, and they are the state champs. And I tell you, they beat a couple of great bowlers for Columbus. Well, the entire Columbus team, just another set of 5 or 6 boys there that have a chance to bowl somewhere when they get out of high school. And, you know, sometimes the pins just don't fall your way.
Well, what a great final game. 226 to 201. Columbus comes from behind and knocks off Kearney. And the Bearcats are the boys' Class A state champs. We'll have the medal presentation and the trophy as well when we come back on NET Sports.
Programming is provided in part by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Nebraska.
These cost about $50. This costs about $57,000. Choosing to use these can help you avoid this. And since inactivity is a better predictor of death than smoking, high blood pressure, and even heart disease, using these more and this less could save you more than money. A message that's good to know from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska.
Programming on NET television is provided in part by Education Quest Foundation. For over 20 years, Education Quest has provided free college planning resources to help students search colleges, search for scholarships, complete financial aid applications, and learn more about student loans. Education Quest is located in Kearney, Lincoln, and Omaha. Appointments available at 800-666-3721.
Hi, I'm Matt Davison, and I drive Nebraska's highways almost every day. Please use caution when driving in winter weather, and watch for highway workers as they clear the roads. Slow down when you meet a snowplow, and don't brake suddenly if you're traveling in front of one. They can't stop as quickly as a car or pickup. If you're gonna head out in winter weather, check out the Nebraska Travel Information website at 511nebraska.org, or just dial them at 511. Don't take any chances this year. If there's ice and snow, take it slow.
And welcome back to Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska. The boys' Class A State High School Championship match is in the books. And the final, Kearney knocking off Columbus, 222-206 in game number 5, and the Bearcats win it 3-2. For the medal presentation, let's go to Craig Carver. Sorry. Hey, so you have your phone on you?
First, the boys' Class A runner-up Columbus Discoverers, assistant coach Chris Scheel and head coach John Echolt. Justin Echolt. Jordan Echolt. Seth Daniels. Brandon Esch. Adam Thurley. And Andrew McCarthy. Gentlemen, here's your runner-up trophy. Congratulations. And now for your boys, 2008 Class A State Champion Kearney Bearcats. Assistant coach Robbie Samuelson and head coach Wanda Misphalin. Zach Markheim. Dylan Kruger. Jared Samuelson. Ryan Hatcher. Devin Smith. Brock Spangler. Gentlemen, here's your 2008 State Championship trophy. Congratulations.
So the Kearney Bearcats are your state champs, their first year in the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation, and they take home the trophy. That's a wrap for Class A. When we come back, the boys' Class C Championship, BOA, Burwell, Ord, Arcadia, and Plainview. Stay with us.
The 2008 High School Bowling Championships is provided in part by the Alan and Marcia Baer Foundation, the Lincoln Bowling Association, and the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation, promoting bowling across the state of Nebraska. The Nebraska Soybean Board, encouraging the use of renewable biodiesel fuels for a healthier environment. For information, nebraskasoybeans.org. And by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Nebraska. The Blues are good for you.
Get ready for the Osmonds! Celebrating 50 years of entertainment. Don't miss the Osmonds reunion concert.
Coming soon to NET1.
And we're back at Sun Valley Lanes, the boys' Class C State Championship, to wrap things up on a long day of boys' championships in Lincoln, Nebraska's Sun Valley Lanes. It's Burwell, Ord, Arcadia taking on the Plainview Pirates. And now for the introductions, let's go to our public address announcer. That's Craig Carter. Here's Craig.
Welcome to the 2008 Nebraska High School Bowling Federation Boys Class C State Championship, featuring the Burwell, Ord, Arcadia Longhorns and the Plainview Pirates. Now for the Pirates from Plainview, Lucas Hitz, Ryan Christensen, Josh Kanowski, Brett Cork, Tyler Holton, Jacob Proshkovich, and head coach Dave Korth. And now let's meet the Longhorns. Tony Ruza, Zach Wilson, Preston Wilson, Nate Horner. Ryan Foss. Levi Smith. Shadow Stadnichka. Assistant coach Jacob Thielen. And head coach Christy Manisel.
So that's it for the lineups for the Class C Boys State Championship. When we come back, it's action in the C State Championship match. Stay with us.
Brought to you in part by the Ellen and Marcia Bear Foundation and by the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation, encouraging high schools to sanction the sport of bowling across Nebraska.
Programming provided by Nebraska Public Power District.
My job as an engineer for the Nebraska Public Power District is rewarding. My education and technical skills are used every day to help generate electricity for Nebraska. And I feel good because I believe that what I do maintains the state's quality of life. NPPD is where I want to be.
Nebraska Public Power District. Always there when you need us. Together with your local public power utility.
Rising from acres of Midwestern farm fields, a revolution is coming. A new era of energy independence from foreign oil. It's called soy biodiesel. Made with soybean oil, this fuel is a sustainable, renewable resource. America, it's time for an oil change. Soy biodiesel, grown in the Midwest.
Welcome back to Sun Valley Lanes in Lincoln, Nebraska for our final state championship of the afternoon. It's been a long day of boys championships, and we wrap it up in Class C with Burwell or Arcadia taking on the Plainview Pirates. Should be a good one.
Got a Pirate sighting there, Larry, in the stands already.
We did have one. Here's Burwell or Arcadia's lineup. They start with Tony Haruza, Zach Wilson, Preston Wilson, Nate Horner, Ryan Foss, Levi Smith, and Shadow Stednicka. And for the Pirates, Lucas Heinz, Ryan Christensen, Josh Konofsky, Brett Korth, Tyler Holton, and Jacob Proskovic.
There's our Pirate right there.
There we go. So we're ready to get things underway in the Class C Championship. And Burwell Ord Arcadia wearing the black with pink trim. Of course, you might remember last week the Burwell Ord Arcadia girls were in the state championship and came out on top. So the girls trying to make it 2 for 2 in Class C for Burwell Ord Arcadia. And a nice shot there, leaving a solid 10 for Tony Haruza. Now on the right lane for Plainview, Lucas Heights. Lucas is senior. Straight up the boards for Lucas. A little bit of a ripple there and leaves it 3-10.
Runners up last year, Larry. Plainview back again. Dave and Kim Korth, the proprietors and coaches for Plainview Lanes. A nice little 6-lane center with great food and beverages and just the hub of activity in Plainview. Cross lane at the 3 and the 10. Kills the roll on the ball.
Man, nice conversion. Very nice spare by Lucas Heights. So on the left-hand lane, that'll bring up Zach Wilson. Zach's idol, Pete Weber. And he leaves the 1-3-6. Here on the right lane, Brett Korth. I remember Brett from last year. Very straight up the boards.
Good fundamental
Solid
game there. Stays behind the ball, keeps it in play around the pocket. He was their money man last year, coming up just short.
Well, the first open of the match on the Burwell Arcadia ledger. And a good cover by Brett Korth, the leader of this Plainview squad. Coming up a little light.
Senior laden team for Plainview. All 4 starters are all seniors.
Ryan Christensen, the senior, averages 159. And a nice spare conversion. There's Preston Wilson with the spare for Burwell Arcadia. We'll just call him Boa.
Nice roll on the ball by the left-hander. Ryan Christensen, still a little bit of conditioner on the lanes. Needs to maybe tame it down a little bit on the speed. Make an adjustment, move his feet back to the left. The old adage, miss left, miss right, move right. You can use that still today in bowling. He's missed the pocket to the left. He needs to move his feet a little bit to the left. Gets a little straighter angle at the pocket.
Yeah, the shot pulled just a bit by Nate Horner of Burwell Arcadia. Now up on the right lane, Josh Kanowski. Kanowski is senior, as every one of the starters on Plainview is.
Got a break there, Larry, taking out that back row 9-pin, leaving just a baby split, 3 in the 10.
So here's Preston Wilson. Preston, just a freshman. Chops the one off. And that's another open for Boa. Now Plainview trying to avoid their back-to-back opens. And he hits the 3, but not the 10. So a tight game here through 4 frames. Plainview on top, 52-51. Both teams with some early jitters. Here's another look at Tony Caruza. Right up the outside line.
Oh, moved the 4 back, but couldn't knock it over.
And now Lucas Heights wants to study aviation in college.
4-pin. Functional game, straight up the boards, low maintenance. You can live and die by the big hook. Lane at the 4-pin. Well done.
And a nice cover. So let's see if Plainview can answer.
And
I have to hook.
Just killed the hook a little too much there, Larry.
Tried to go straight at it. Right idea. Wrong execution.
Puts Burwell Arcadia back in the league.
So here's Zach Wilson. Zach yesterday in qualifying shot .552.
It was not an easy pattern to do that on.
And he crosses over and gets the strike. No, indeed it wasn't. In fact, he went 198, 197 to start. Closed it out with 157 to shoot .552. Finishing second. Here's Brett Korth. Korth finishing 7th yesterday. in the singles, 147, 190, 176. And as we said, a tough condition. Preston Wilson not wasting any time. Now let's see if Korth can convert. Had a good spare, covers him.
So far, all the bowlers we've seen on both teams, Larry, picking a pretty direct approach to the pocket. Not a lot of hand out there, as we say, but a lot of hook. Probably the most you're going to see is out of the lefty, Ryan Christensen, right here. He's going to come right off the corner. Let's see if he throttles down the speed, gets the ball to hook up a little sooner. Made an adjustment with his feet. Great shot.
And a good cover. Here's Nate Horner. Nate kind of likes to joke around a little bit. Nate put on his sheet that one of the things he likes doing is hanging out with chicks, and he gave us his phone number to give out to everybody.
Well, we can do that for a fee, obviously. Match.com can do it, so can Larry and Steve, right?
That's a cell phone number, too, if I'm not mistaken.
You know, it's a family share plan there. That's right. Weekend minutes don't cost a whole lot.
Trying to convert.
Ball's got a hook there.
And a good cover.
You can tell a lot of deep breaths out there. This would be something else if Burwell could match the Lady Boa girls for state championships for both teams in Class C.
Got a good shot by Josh Kanowski. Nice cover. Still a tight game. We're through 8 going into the 9th frame, and Burwell or Arcadia with a 9-pin advantage. Crosses over there. Plainview may have to throw a double here to get back in. See if Lucas Heinz can get it going for the Pirates.
Nice simple game here by Lucas. Look at that. Ball right in the track area. Good speed. Oh, just a tough break.
Yeah, bad break.
You're going to have Burwell open a couple of times to let Plainview back in for game number 1. Cross lane at the spare for Burwell.
Had a good cover.
It's going to set him up for the 10th frame. Have to hope that Burwell opens for Plainview to have a chance. But right now, it looks like Burwell's going to take game number 1. When the run at the 4-9, takes the 1 pin.
And he's got 1, so that'll give him 128 of the night. So down by 21 pins, getting into the 10th frame. At this point, best they can shoot is 158. With 9 pins here, that's what Burwell will have.
Ooh, well.
You got the right guy on the lane to throw a few in a row to bring Plainview back into it.
So no need to double.
He's got to have the first one. Good shot. There it is. Boy, this brings back memories. I remember Korth making some pretty big shots last year as well in key situations.
Right, Larry. Count's important here. He needs to get 2.
And he does.
That'll at least force. So after, I'm sorry, Larry, go ahead. Korth's going to have to obviously strike on this ball. Then he'll have to fill at least 8 to win. But all behind needing this strike right here. So taking a little extra time on the approach. Big shot.
Tugged it a little bit.
All right. Game 1 to Burwell or at Arcadia.
So they come out of the chute with a 155, and that will be good enough to take game number 1. Best Plainview can shoot is 148, and they do. So 155, 148. Burwell or at Arcadia takes game 1 from Plainview. They're start talking about the leaders in Class C in the singles events. Of course, these teams bowl 4 games of qualifying on the first day. Then they're seeded 1 through 8 into a Baker format bracketed roll-off. So 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, and so on. And the final 2 teams come here into the arena-style finals. But in the first 3 games of their 4-game qualifier, they're also bowling for singles honors, all-state honors. The top 10 receive first and second team all-state. And a couple of Burwell or Arcadia bowlers led the way. That's tugged a bit. Preston Wilson, who is the freshman, shot .598, led the field by 46 pins. He comes out of the chute, goes 206, 234. Did Preston Wilson before shooting 158 in game 3. Here's Lucas, and he just chops that off there. Now Tony Haruza. And he converts. Very nice spare.
You know, Larry, I don't know if we've mentioned it during this match, but the lane conditions yesterday in the qualifying was a PBA style, Professional Bowlers Association style lane pattern. In different ways you can apply the conditioner to the lane to, to control scoring a little bit. And it was a tougher condition yesterday, and I really think sometimes when you have bowlers that have more of a simple game, like most of these boys, not a lot of hook, more direct and down and in, the lane conditions are not going to be as big a factor as they would to players that throw a lot of hook. And this is a poor break. Both teams now with pocket 4 9s to throw off the rally. But shooting .590 on that condition, on that PBA cheetah style condition, the cheetah, you can go online to pba.com and you can actually see a topographical view of what the lane conditioning patterns look like. Not a lot of oil, a lot of hook, and with these boys being more direct at their bowling approach, less hook, doesn't seem to affect them as much. I think they may struggle a little more here with a little more conditioner on the lane, but.
So now up on the left lane for Plainview is Ryan Christensen. Ryan, a senior, planning to head to Northeast Community College next year and study automotive. That goes a little high and leaves another split. So 5 balls thrown here in game number 2, and we've seen 3 splits. There's Preston Wilson, who led the way, 206, 234, 158 in the singles event. Blew out the field, won by 46 pins. The next closest was Zach Wilson, who shot .552 from BOA.
Thought he had a chance there, Larry.
And a good cover by Wilson. Josh Kanowski now. Kanowski, another senior. Plans on heading to UNL next year. Study fisheries and wildlife at UNL. Nate Horner again. Horner can't carry it, leaves a 5-9. We told you about Horner giving us that cell phone number we're supposed to give out. He also says the thing he likes about high school bowling the most is he gets free bowling with his friends. I guess that's one of the advantages.
Well, you do get a lot of free bowling, but it's as long as it's done in a manner where you're trying to improve yourself and improve the game. There's nothing wrong with trying to better the sport of bowling. Now, his dad could own the bowling center there.
I think he was tongue-in-cheek there, I think.
I get it.
Okay.
All right, it's time for somebody to assert themselves now. Down the track area for Plainview's A bowler, Lucas Heights, leading the week 10. Chance for Burwell to jump back on top with Tony Haruza here.
And Haruza leaves it on pin. Here's Heights again. High game of, hang on. Ooh, just hung on, boy. Look at Haruza again. Man, a nice single pin conversion for Haruza. So they switch sides after 5 frames. Burwell or Arcadia will move to the left lane, Plainview to the right, and up for the Pirates is Brett Korth. Brett says he'd like to bowl next year, like to continue bowling when he goes to college at either Nebraska or Wichita State. A couple of terrific programs. Good choices there, and he trips the 4-pin this time forward. Nice shot by Korth. Averages .202 on the year, so clearly the leader of that Plainview squad.
Just a good game, fundamental game, right in the track area. Doesn't let the ball fly out of pocket too much. He keeps it right within that 1-3 area.
Zach Wilson there. Now here's Ryan Christensen. Ryan finished 3rd in the singles event for Plainview. Games of 216, 158, 167. That 216 game. He said one of the highlights of his year, being able to shoot 216 at state. He's excited there after a nice ball.
He's a big boy, too.
It's a big double for Plainview as well. And a nice cover by Wilson. Kanowski again, high game of 234. Nice series of 595. That goes a little high. Preston Wilson, good shot. Boy, very direct.
He's throwing what they call the fallback shot. The ball actually starts left of the head pin for the right-handed bowler. Kind of works its way against the grain of the lane. Lands in the 1-3 pocket. Again, very little room for error there. You don't want to need to start throwing those.
Untimely error after a double. They'd thrown the double to get back into it and actually have the lead, but the 7 count of the open gives the lead back to Burwell or Arcadia.
Leaving a tough 1-3-9. It's not going to be a cakewalk picking that up. A lot of ways to chop that spare. Just watch his straight arm swing. Straight release the foul line. Ball settles nicely in the pocket, just a touch high for the 4.
Here's Nate Horner. And a nice spare conversion. Big one to keep them in the lead. Up by 17 pins is Burwell or Arcadia. And the spare in the 9th sets up the 10th frame for the anchor bowler for the Pirates, Brett Korth, who will be up next. But first for Burwell or Arcadia, Tony Haruza in the 9th frame for the Longhorns. And a great shot. All Burwell or Arcadia needs to do is mark in the 10th and to have a chance. He needed to strike out, and that's not going to happen. Looks like game 2 will go in the books and go the way of Burwell or Arcadia as well. Wilson just needs to keep it on the lane and get some count here. And he does that. And the best that Plainview can shoot now is 163. And Burwell or Arcadia already has that beat. So game number 2 also goes to the Longhorns. They'll be up 2-0 in this best of 5 Baker style format. The final one of the day in boys classes. This is Class C. Slides by there. Good thing he had it wrapped up. 170. And a good finish for a 163, so they only lose it by 7, although it wasn't as close as that, because the Longhorns had it wrapped up really in the 9th frame. So 2-0. Burwell or Arcadia on top, 1 win away from taking home the state championship. Don't forget, we've had a few go 5 games today, or at least 2 of the 3 so far have gone 5 games.
Class D boys starts out with Newman Grove with a 2-0 lead, and Howells comes back to sweep the last 3 to win them. So, shot at the state champion Burwell or Arcadia girls. Rooting the boys on. Take both the trophies back to, wonder which town gets to display it.
Maybe one gets one.
It's like the Stanley. It's like the Stanley Cup.
Right. Girls, of course, winning it last week. Nice they showed up in their shirts this week to watch the guys.
I wonder if they've laundered them.
When you have luck like that,
stand out in those pink shirts in the crowd.
They didn't wash them; they'll stand out either way.
Well, it was a good shot there by Plainview's leadoff bowler Lucas Heights. I like that approach. In the track area of the lane, low maintenance game. Cross lane at the 4, and well done.
Nice cover. To recap what's happened to this point in the boys' state championships this morning in Class D. It was, as Steve just mentioned, Howells Bobcats coming from behind after Newman Grove took a 2-0 lead. Howells Bobcats came from behind to win it 3-2 to take the state championship. Then in Class B, Aurora and Lexington squared off, and Lexington just ran away with it, shooting 190 in all 3 games, 194, 197, 192. That was really a great performance by Dave Fred's club, and we saw one of the better bowlers in the state there in Sam Fred, who's just a junior, and will be back again next year. Although, after that match, I was talking to head coach Dave Fred, who said that Sam is not going to bowl next year. Instead, he's going to go into the military a little early, get a graduated semester, go into the military, get his college paid for, and not bowl next year. So other schools around Class B in the state love to hear that, I'm sure.
Lots of opportunities in the United States military to bowl. Each wing of the armed forces has their own bowling teams, and it's a great opportunity to tour the world and bowl.
And a good cover there. And then, of course, in the Class A state championship, it went 5 as well, and it was a close one, all the way down to an exciting Game 5 where Kearney knocked off Columbus 222 to 206 in that 5th game. What a great finish to that one, and that was somewhat of a surprise, and that Columbus was the defending state champion. Kearney knocks them off. And here we are in boys Class C, halfway through the 3rd game, and Burwell or Arcadia is on top 2-0. They trail here in the 3rd after a double by Plainview to start it off. Gets the 10 out, leaves just the 5 pin. So let's see if BOA can stay clean, and they do.
Accuracy is key when you throw the ball that straight. Obviously, if you hook the ball a lot, you can have a little more room if you have a tendency to swing the ball out to the opposite direction of your target. But these boys throw the ball very, very straight, with the exception of Ryan Christensen, the left-hander for Plainview. They're all playing in the middle portion of the lane. That's why I think you see such good spare shooting. I realized last game there was a few opens, but so far both teams clean in this Game 3. Plainview with the lead right now.
Nate Horner.
That double has given them a nice little cushion to start Game 3. Just watch Lucas Heights here. Hand behind the ball right in that track area of the lane, right between the 2nd and 3rd arrow. Was a little slow that time. Didn't have quite the ball speed. It goes high, but as I said earlier, with the simple game and not a lot of hook, you leave a fairly simple spare to convert. Plainview trying to keep the lead.
And a nice cover. Burwell or Arcadia stays clean through 4. Plainview still clean after 3, or after 5, sorry. A double, 9 spare, 9 spare, 9 spare. Nice and efficient for Plainview. See what Tony Haruza can do. Right up the outside, puts it in there. Nice shot, ringing 10.
First real solid 10 we've seen in quite some time. Ball finishing very strong in the pocket. Just one of those breaks of bowling where the 3 goes into the 6. 6 pin usually goes to the kickback wall and takes the 10 out, but just rings right around the neck. So got to cover it up though. Burwell trying to keep it within 20. Good attempt at the spare. Well,
and nice cover. So we'll switch sides in a tight game here in game number 3. Both teams clean through 5. So 10 completed frames, no errors. Good third game here in the Class C Boys State Championship. Mayor's looking. Brent Korth said he loves the pressure. He's got a little now. Tugged it just a little bit. Can't get the 10 out. He's struggling a little bit to find somewhere to play. Looks like he keeps moving in a little deeper, but he's trying to play very direct, and he might have to open it up a little bit.
There's a tendency to do that, but if you get a little too wide, you run the risk of leaving a washout or something worse.
And a good shot by Wilson.
Works their way back into it now. Back within 10, Larry. Depending upon what Brett does here. Good spare shooting.
And he's all over it. Now let's see if the freshman Preston Wilson can double up for Burwell or at Arcadia. Mixer can't get the 7 to go. Pretty good shot.
He is just a freshman, and I think he's got a fan on the team, doesn't he, Larry?
That's right.
I think he's got a fan. This tells you how well thought of his other teammates think of Preston.
Oh, we asked the players. Of course, each of the players will have a little questionnaire they'll fill out. And one of the questions is, who's your favorite athlete, right?
Well, actually, I have that backwards. Preston says his favorite athlete is none other than his teammate, Devin Hester.
Well, Devin Hester is the wide receiver for the Bears.
Oh, okay.
That's the wrong one.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Was that the wrong one? All right. Shows you who's doing my prep work here on the staff, huh? Well, somebody thinks that Preston's the best athlete they've ever seen, so, you know.
I think you're right. I think that is in there.
And bowlers are athletes.
Yeah, who's your favorite athlete? The answer is
for the Bears. You sure Devin Hester doesn't have a year of eligibility in high school bowling?
It's Shadow Studnicka, he's a senior, one of the reserves on the squad, and he says Preston is his favorite athlete.
All right, so we got that straight. Either way, Preston, you're well liked, buddy. We'll be cherishing this forever. Tough spare here for Burwell. Burwell trying to climb back into this, leaving this very tough spare, and covers it.
Very nice conversion, especially after the open in the 7th frame, the first open for either team in this third game, and it's a 23-pin lead now for Plainview, and they can about, I wouldn't say wrap it up, but put an awful lot of pressure on Burwell or Arcadia with a double here. And there it is.
Great shot.
Very nice shot. Well, look out, because if Plainview gets lined up, they've got some talent over there. Nice shot, yep. Well, they can shoot. Burwell can shoot 202, but if Plainview goes off the sheet, they shoot 235.
I think all Brett needs to do here is to stay clean in the 10th frame, and that should lock it up for Plainview, and that's going to do it. Possible 235 for Plainview. Burwell could finish with 202.
If they can go off the sheet, shoot 235 here, that would be our highest score of the day in boys Baker bowling, 235. In fact, I think last week the highest score of the day was also shot in Class C
by the Burwell girls.
And he trips the 4.
That's why he's your anchor.
That's right.
You're going to be in the 230s.
And the previous high game was shot in Class A by Kearney, which shot 222. So Plainview will own the best game of the Bakers of the day in the boys championships. So Burwell or Arcadia stumbles a bit there, although they shoot 170, which is the same thing they shot last game. Plainview just did an awful lot better. 2:34. So a nice game for the Plainview Pirates, who are now back into it. Down 2-1. They appear to be a bit more lined up. We will have a fourth game. And they are Pirates, and they're ready to go here for game number 4. There's a look at the final score of game 3, 234 to 170. Starting things off in the left lane is Lucas Heights. Heights average of 157. 243 is high game, 624. Goes a little high there. Here's Tony Aruza. That's going to need to go the other side, and it does. The Brooklyn strike. And even after a long day of bowling here at Sun Valley Lane, still a great crowd on hand.
The crowd's been unbelievable all weekend. Standing room only at both bowling centers during the qualifying at Hollywood Bowl and Sun Valley Lanes here on Saturday, just the Saturday prior. Just unbelievable crowds. Athletic directors, administrators that made the trip in to maybe see high school bowling for the first time, Larry. You know, their mouths were on the floor at what they saw. They saw just a great atmosphere for high school athletics. I think the lanes now, and we've been bowling on these lanes all day, and they've been reconditioned one other time, but I think now what you're beginning to see is we're beginning to see the lanes beginning to yield a little hook in the middle. A lot of the play has been in that center portion of the lane, and it just eventually the oil carries down the lane, but then eventually after that the oil does eventually wear off the lane. And you're seeing it with Brett Korth there, as he was playing in that general area earlier, but now his ball's getting to hook a little earlier now. So Brett's going to have to make an adjustment either with his speed or maybe move his feet and target a little bit further left in the lane to find a little more skid.
Door opened a bit by Burwell Ord. Arcadia in the second frame with that open. That evens things back up. Here's the lefty, Ryan Christensen.
That's a tough spare. 3-7-8.
Even tougher when you're a lefty.
2-7-8, excuse me. Yep, and he'll have to slide him in between the baby split and hope he carries out the 8. And double wood spare there, tough for Preston Wilson for Burwell Ord.
So let him off the hook. It's what we talked about, especially in Baker bowling, when you have your opportunities to take advantage of your opponent's mistake, you have to jump on it. You have to make the shots in the key situations to give your team the advantage.
That's right. Chance here for Burwell to take the lead, and just a little tough on the Brooklyn side there.
So,
go ahead, Larry. Sorry, I'm just saying it's anybody's match. They're within one pin right now of each other, and we saw last game a lot more spare conversions, less errors. Now I think the pressure is beginning to mount a little bit as we're seeing some missed conversions. Lucky break there, kicking out the 6 pin.
Well, we talked about that earlier. As you get closer to championship point, it's very easy for your thoughts in your mind to wander to, hey, I might be a state champ.
Yep.
I might be holding up a trophy. I may be getting a medal here in about 15 minutes. It's very easy to start thinking ahead, and that's why it's a cliche, and coaches say it, but it's a cliche because it's true. You absolutely have to take it one shot at a time, one game at a time, one moment at a time in order to stay focused so that the end result is what you want it to be.
With as much hand-eye coordination as it takes to bowl, and granted bowling is probably is obviously not as physical a sport as some of the other high school sports, but the amount of hand-eye coordination, the amount of concentration, the amount of focus, you know, all you need to do is to lose track of, just like you said, Larry, and it's you know, you can take a pretty simple single pin spare like on lane 28 there with the 3-pin. Miss that, it could be the difference in the match.
Yep. Well, that crosses over and squashes the rack.
You're seeing now for Plainview, Lucas Heights and Brett Korth having the same problem. The area of the lane they were playing earlier is now hooking. So he did get a great break there by carrying the Jersey squasher there, but for the strike. But they're going to have to make an adjustment here. Now, by moving over to the other lane, that other lane is not hooking as much, which is sometimes a characteristic in bowling. Sometimes one lane to the other might hook a little more or a little less. We'll see here with Brett Korth and see if he comes up high again or if he gives the ball a little more room. Looks like it's a good shot.
Boy, nice ball. Ring and tin and a great adjustment and a great shot by Brett Korth.
Well, we are just very close to even, and a good opportunity for Brett to cover that 10 pin and keep Plainview in it. Great shot.
Carried by Wilson. Zach Wilson, the senior. Now let's see if Korth can cover.
No problem.
Pin right on. And now Preston up on the left lane quickly. The left-hander Ryan Christensen, as I mentioned, shot at .216 this week. Finished third in the singles event. Nice shot there and carries. Big ball for Plainview.
Sawed the rack in half. That ball comes in long and strong at the back end, sending the 5 pin into the 10. Had no chance of standing up there. Plainview now with the lead, with the strike working in the 7th. Double here will really give them the advantage going into the late frames here. Game 4.
Plainview needs this win. And the crossover double. Boy, what a big shot. Josh Kanowski gets it done. And that now gives them a 10-pin advantage. Nate Horner needs to answer. Horner maybe split left.
Got to pick it up now, Larry. You got to go for it. Otherwise, it's going to be all even at 2-2 here.
There's Lucas Heights. Straight up the boards. Pretty good shot and a nice adjustment by him as well. And it's difficult to tell if they made the move or if it was just the changing of the lane that made the difference. But
it's like a little more speed there by Lucas. It's going to pretty much keep Plainview in the driver's seat for game number 4 here. Spare here will pretty much demand that Burwell will have to go off the sheet to have any chance. That's a very good cover on the spare. Straight at it.
So make it a 22-pin advantage as we finish up the 9th frame here with Burwell or Arcadia. Boy, they needed that one.
Possible 182 for Burwell.
And all Brett Korth needs to do here is mark and get good count. So if he can stay clean here in the 10th, it'll be all even at 2.
Flirted with the 4-9. We've seen a lot of those today.
Now to have a chance, Zach Wilson has to strike here. So that'll do it for game number 4. And we will have a game 5 for the 3rd time today. 3 of the 4 classes on the boys' side of competition going 5 games. And a good cover. Now they're just finishing out the string. You take a look at girls competition last week, and I think maybe just one go to 5 games. Yep, one of the 4 matches last week in the girls competition went to 5 games, and that was in Class C, the final match of the day, as this is the final match of the day. And this will go 5 as well. But today, 3 of the 4 go the distance. 183-148. Game 5. It's only fitting that we go 5 games in the final match of the day in Class C. Plainview's been here before, 4 years at state. They've been in the final 2 times. They have not won it yet. Like looking back at the other Class C state champions, Wisner Pilger, the Gators won it last year. Centura, the Centurions in 2006 and 2005, so they won it back-to-back years. And then before that, it was back-to-back by Crofton in 2003 and 2004. So Plainview tried to put their name, as well as Burwell or Arcadia, put their name in the Class C record books as the 2008 state champs. The Longhorns will start it off. Tony Haruza. Pretty good shot, and he carries.
Back-to-back strikes by that young man. Keeps the ball right in play, right in that track area. We'll see if Plainview now can keep up. I think the momentum is
clearly with Plainview. You bet.
You need to keep the pressure on, and that great finish it had that last game, and needs to cover the spare.
Oh, we saw to the first match of the day. Newman Grove came out of the block, won the first 2 games. Howell's Bobcats battled back to win a very tough third game, 135-127. A close one. And then they went on to win games 4 and 5 to take the championship. Plainview trying to do the same thing here. Lose the first 2 and come back and win the last 3 in a nice cover.
Just a simple game by that young man. I really like that. Really like that simple approach what Lucas Heights does to the game and the ball. Just ball never hooks more than about 5 boards. Very accurate. Stays out of trouble that way.
So here's Brett Korth. Average 202 on the season. High game of 269, a high series of 716. That hooked a little.
Did that time, Larry, was he just got that ball out to that hook area just a little bit soon. Ball goes a little high, and I think also that he was a little slow on speed. Burwell right back on top of it now.
Important spare for Plainview to keep pace. And a good cover. Nate Horner now. Double would give them a big lead. Goes a little high and pushes out that 7.
Good break, breaking up the possible 6-7 split. Here comes the hammer. Watch this ball roar back from the gutter, folks. Ooh, just didn't get there. It was kind of hung on the ball just a little bit at the base of his release. Got that ball in a little more of a skid than normal, and leaves a tough spare. The 3, 5, 6, and 9, the dinner bucket we call it in bowling. Good cover by Burwell Lord Arcadia's Nate Horner.
Important spare to keep pace. Burwell or Arcadia up by 6. Got a hook. So that gives the lead to Burwell or Arcadia by 18. Through 3 frames with the spare working in the 4th.
Good shot there by Tony Haluza. He's been in the pocket every shot. He's done a great job to cover that spare.
Here's Josh Kanowski. Kanowski needs to finish, and he does. Big shot. Boy, they needed that after the opener. And Kanowski leads right into Lucas Heights, who's been right around the pocket.
Tony Gruza, another one of those bowlers with a good, simple set of mechanics. Keeps the ball in play.
So Heights made a good shot in the first frame, just didn't carry the 10. Let's see what happens here.
Comes in just a touch high. A little slower that time, Larry. I'm sure you noticed the ball speed was down. Just realized on the equipment here at Sun Valley Lanes we can get the actual ball speed. Nice of us to notice that. 4 matches in. Could have got really technical.
I've been watching it the whole time.
Okay.
I realize you didn't know that. I would have said something.
Well, at this point in the game, I think you need to try for the spare here. He needs to slide that 6 into the 7. This is the final game of the championship, and Gave it a run.
Well, good idea to give it the run. 68 in the 5th for Plainview. 99 in the 5th for Burwell Arcadia.
They're going to have to give Coach Christy Manisel a raise here. She can bring home 2 state championships.
Wow. Maybe she has it written into the contract, sure. The state championship bonus clause, I'm sure.
Yeah, you've seen the lanes now obviously beginning to hook a little more, and Brett Korth now has come in high last 2 times. Needs to cover the spare, and then they're going to need him desperately in that 10th frame. Come through to keep it close for Plainview.
Oh, boy, good shot there. Just didn't carry the 10, but stay clean and keep the pressure on Plainview. You're up by 30. Don't make any mistakes. A nice cover there by Korth. This is where if you can just stay clean and keep the pressure on your opponent, you force them to try to make shots.
Spare here will keep the lead for Burwell at about 25 plus pins. Cross lane at the 10. Well done.
And a good cover.
That's a big spare. You know, that's going to be his final shot of the tournament, and that's a cross lane spare at the 10, and you know, it's huge to keep that open frame away. Needs to strike here, Ryan Christensen.
Here's Preston Wilson. And leaving the 5 pin. Makeable spares. Stay around the pocket. Makeable spares. Keep the pressure on Plainview. Plainview, meantime, has to start making. Has to start striking.
Oh boy, well, that 32-pin lead for Burwell just grew by leaps and bounds there. I think if Burwell can just stay clean, avoid any opens and splits, it's going to be a wild bus ride home, van ride, however they got here.
43-pin lead based on the count, but a 43-pin advantage and another split, baby split, but still the 3-10. And so I think Burwell or Arcadia waiting right now to see what happens. Well, they have somebody up there. Nate Horner is back up. She was looking down the bench to see where Levi Smith and Shadow Stupnicka were.
Just about to wash out there. Keeps the ball in play. Be a shame all these seniors on the Plainview Pirate team would love to have gone and end their career at Plainview High School with a state championship, but it's not looking like that's going to happen, Larry. Possible 162 at best, 142 clip for Plainview, and right now Burwell's at about a 175 pace. Spare here will ensure that.
Well, all they really need now is just count in the 9th and the 10th. We're talking about Burwell or Arcadia. If they just get good count in both the 9th and the 10th, they will shut out Plainview, regardless of what Plainview does. And that about does it right there. Plainview needed to strike out. The best they can shoot now is 152, and they may have it after the shot. They do. So you hear the murmurs in the crowd. Did they get it? They want it?
People figuring
yes,
out the
they
math.
have. Yep.
You see some of the parents, some of the representatives of the girls Burwell or Arcadia team in the crowd. You can see them pumping their fists. They know they've got it wrapped up.
The boys and the girls for Burwell or Arcadia will take home state championships. And the crossover by Brett Korth.
It's got to be frustrating for Brett. I remember last year, Larry, he just bowled lights out almost, I'm not going to say single-handedly, but just was just a huge cog in the wheel of keeping Plainview in it. And if I remember right, that match went 5 games last year also. And just a shame that couldn't get it done this year.
Well, Burwell or Arcadia can shoot 193, and the spare there, the best that Plainview can do is 140.
Well, Larry, you look at the line score. Burwell's going to be in the 190s with this spare, and it's most likely with this spare it's going to be a clean game, and you can count the open frames for Plainview, and turnovers in football just comes back to bite you. Got to play clean.
Boy, what a great way to win it for Burwell or Arcadia, a clean game. Not too fancy, didn't string any strikes, but just stayed around the pocket and picked up their spares. You do that in high school bowling and you will be successful. Oh, Plainview puts a 137 on the board. Burwell or Arcadia with a 191. Thought it might have fallen. 191 to 137. The boys and girls champs from Burwell or Arcadia in Class C. When we come back, we'll have the medal and trophy presentations in Class C. Stay with us.
The headaches were changing my daily routine.
Migraines caused Karen to see a neurologist who recommended a prescription.
I didn't want the drugs, and that's when she said to start walking. And so I started walking, and I haven't had a headache since. I'm a lot healthier than I was, and I can accomplish a lot more because I feel better. I just let Blue Cross Blue Shield know that I was living proof that walking does work.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Nebraska.
The blues are good for you.
Programming on NET television is provided in part by Education Quest Foundation. For over 20 years, Education Quest has provided free college planning resources to help students search colleges, search for scholarships, complete financial aid applications, and learn more about student loans. Education Quest is located in Kearney, Lincoln, and Omaha. Appointments available at 800-666-3721.
Well, in Class C, Burwell or Arcadia, your state champs. They win it in 5 over Plainview. Now for the trophy presentation and the medal honors, here's our public address announcer, Craig Corbin.
Congratulations all the participants in today's state championship match. And now for the medal and awards presentation. First, the boys Class C runner-up, Plainview Pirates head coach Dave Korth. Tyler Holton. Jacob Prashkovich. Lucas Hitz. Ryan Christensen. Josh Kanowski. And Brett Korth. Gentlemen, here's your runner-up trophy. Congratulations. And now for your boys, 2008 Class C state champion, Burwell Ord Arcadia Longhorns. Assistant coach Jacob Thielen and head coach Christy Manisil. Ryan Foss. Levi Smith. Shadow Stanitsky. Ka. Preston Wilson. Nate Horner. Tony Ruza. And Zach Wilson. Gentlemen, here is your 2008 State Championship trophy. Congratulations.
So that'll do it from the boys State High School Bowling Championships. Your champions in Class C, Burwell or Arcadia, Kearney in Class A, Lexington in B, and the Howells Bobcats in Class D. 2 weekends of great action here on NET. Thanks very much for joining us. For Steve Simpek, the entire NET sports production crew, I'm Larry Putney. We'll see you next time on NET.
The 2008 High School Bowling Championships is provided in part by Nebraska Public Power District, always there when you need us, together with your local public power utility. Education Quest Foundation, improving access to college through scholarships, grants, and college planning services. And by the Allen and Marcia Bear Foundation, the Lincoln Bowling Association, and the Nebraska High School Bowling Federation, promoting bowling across the state of Nebraska.